tonight we've got breaking news for you. You are not confused. They lied. And so the topic tonight.
Well, good evening to the Generations podcast. This is our eighth episode, and we are so glad that you were able to join us. Tonight's topic is really going to be dealing with the trending topic that is in the earth today. And so I thought it made sense. We had such an impact in the prophecy of what has happened with the election process that it might be worthy to take some time out to talk about some key points I think that we don't want to be misguided about, but that we really want to make sure that we are aware of and focusing on. Hold on, I'm sorry, I've got some background noise I need to take care of here. And because of that, I thought it made sense that we would give a particular aspect of that topic some real attention tonight. Moving forward is the topic. Moving forward after the election is our topic for tonight. And we will have some guests that will be joining us to give their opinions on this particular topic. So we want to thank you as we prepare to get started now. I want to go over just a few things about some of the research that I picked up with regard to where we're at on the spectrum of prophecy with regard to this election. Many have, we want to not lose sight of the big picture. And the big picture really is that Satan's goal. We need to understand what's really going on here in the earth because it is being orchestrated according to prophecy by the Lord from the heavens, has already been predestined. So we're not looking at matters that were not already predestined to happen. But what we want to do is just not forget that. So we need to make sure that we understand the big picture. Satan's goal, if you didn't know it, is to defeat the Lord's revelations. He wants to duplicate everything that he learned while he was in heaven before he got kicked out. And he wanted to establish himself to be greater than or equal to the creator of the earth. And so his entire motivation is around trying to duplicate what he knows heaven has already predestined here in the earth, using his imps and those that are choosing to take on the fate that he's already been assigned by God for this effort. And so the empire that will take over in its appropriate time. And so we know that prophecy doesn't tell us any exact date, but prophecy tells us the seasons and the times and the things that will be going on during that time when Christ is planning to come to make war and rule the earth um, along with his remnants as his sheep have always been. So Satan, his goal is he already knows his assignment, and all of his imps is to be assigned to destruction. They will not the evil spirits that he has trafficked in all of his existence, and for the most part, those who have chosen to rebel against the prophecies of their Creator, all have chosen the same fate, and so it is that fate of that fate of destruction that they are aligning themselves for. So we want to just make sure that we understand the principle of what's going on in the human existence and the human experience right now. And that's basically the big picture of what we want. We do know that the last hour of the daughter of Babylon's empire is established on behalf of Daniel 7 in prophecy. So we want to make sure we take a look at that. The USA, of course, is, according to the Bible's um, revelations that have been given to us, is the daughter of Babylon. She represents the daughter of Babylon. Um, and so with the placement of the recent election of its returning leader that we see now is in the works of taking place, it looks like an alignment of one world rule and the defeat of democracy. And we can look at Psalms 137, which is a good reference for getting your heads wrapped around the realities of prophecy and what we see happening in the earth today. The other, I think, there are a couple of other points I just want to make sure that we cover as we're waiting on guests to come in. The and those points are that when we look at what has happened, the there are some key points that we want to point out. One is that the democracy basically has been defeated as a result of what we see. And when we look symbolically at what has happened to what is the daughter of Babylon's the travail that it has brought into the earth and spread all over the earth into many nations was this idea of a democracy. And so the democracy in itself, when we look at it now, has been defeated. We have a republic now, which is run according to the capitalist society, basically. That means capitalism means business run government. Um, the steps that have already been taken are really just business running government without regulation. And many of the actions that are happening that you will see when we take a look at the Project 2025, because I think we need to understand that once we don't want to play around with the idea of democracy still being available. I think we need to wrap our brains around the heartening, the harsh reality that democracy now has taken on another form, and it is not available to us as a result of the plans that are being placed before us in Project 2025. I want to encourage you to use your technology wisely. Wrap your brain around the principal key features of that plan, because that is the plan for this next republic that will be taking over both the House and the Senate and the office of the elected official that is called the president. So democracy has now taken its defeat. And so with that, we know that prophecy is going to usher in then other things that we must be aware of. The next most important of those things is the exposure of the satanic gatekeepers. These are going to be the synagogue of Satan. You've got a media now that will only answer to big business and what we would used to call in a democratic society a government-run media. You've got terms that can help you to reference these gatekeepers now. You need to know who your leaders are now, the Illuminati, aka Freemasons. Take a look and read the book of Revelations, that third chapter in the ninth verse. Any of these, when we define what these gatekeepers, this term gatekeeper are those that are the ruling sources that you must understand have always stood in between you and the democracy and you and the things that are pertaining to the people's rights, which is what the Constitution was supposed to be about. The Constitution now is flipped upside down. They're going to be like a republic. Democracy is not going to be their rule of law. It will be a republic. It'll be business taking on the opportunity to do exactly what it wants to do. So understand the term gatekeepers in all of this. We know that there's another thing that we have to be aware of, and there was the activation of another military draft, which is something that repeats itself. However, on June the 17th of this year, the U.S. House of Representatives again passed the H.R. 8070. This is the National Defense Authorization Act for 2025. So we know that the forces that are going to be running this new republic are really ones that will implement the forcing of people if they need them to go into military service. You need to be of that as well. And I think we've got someone that is joining us now. So we'll give them a minute to come. There we go. All right, Miss Marilyn, we want to go ahead and we're going to ask that you would unmute. And
Oh,
wonderful, wonderful. We've got another Don Konik is coming in, so we'll go ahead and there we go, Don Konik. All right, we will ask that you will unmute if you would. Thank you very much for chiming in as well. All right, I was just in I want to first of all allow you to take a moment from the discussion or part of the information, ladies, that I was just sharing was about just an overview of some of the research that I've done that's really kind of giving a big picture view, not anything real segmented, but just an overview of a whole lot of things. So I want to welcome you both. We have Sister Marilyn and we have Sister Don Quinique. And ladies, we certainly are going to allow the others to come in. And once if I'm going to give a couple more minutes for the others to come in, and then we'll keep it rolling. And we'll go ahead and do some formal introductions and get right into the discussion. So once again, I appreciate you and thank you very much for taking the time out to chime in tonight. So one of the things, ladies, that I was talking about was the helping people to hopefully that are caught up in what has happened now with our society and what the prophecies are, or putting the prophecy face on these matters so that there's some sense being made. Many people are in a lot of confusion and are not sure what they're supposed to be doing in moving forward after the election. And I think the one thing that I have kind of really dug in on is that looking at the overall picture of Satan's plan, against the Lord's plan and the big war that Satan and his imps are trying to set up a duplicate of God's remnant in Jerusalem, where Christ will, of course, rule in the earth when the final battle has been won. So, in hopes of trying to help people begin to wrap their brains around the confusion that they see happening, but there is nothing that happens under the sun without God's permission. And so, once we know that, then we can find the most important thing for us to do is to understand the plan. What does the prophecy say? And so I've mentioned Daniel 7, and that was the last hour that we know, which indicates, the last hour of the daughter of Babylon. And the daughter of Babylon, of course, is America, as we knew it when it was, claiming to be a democracy. The other thing was the Psalms 137, which talks about what people may not see in what has happened is that we're moving from a democracy to a republic, because the division that has divided this nation is really those that are looking at democracy with an eye, and that is probably just as warped as the republic's eye. There's some real difficulties in both of those perspectives, as we see and as they've developed. But democracy in itself, and the way that people knew it, they know now the painful process is that it's fallen. And so we're helping people to redirect and understand what the republic will look like. I think the most important information that I found was Project 2025. This is the knowledge of the plan of the republic, how they intend to destroy all aspects of democracy. And I want to go over those, but I'm going to wait until. So that was another one of the things that I was just talking about. The gatekeepers, this term gatekeepers, the various groups that are claiming this special religious enlightenment play a role in Revelations 3 and 9. The exposure of the satanic gatekeepers in the earth, the synagogue of Satan, for one. We've got a government-run media. We've got the Illuminati, also known as the Freemasons. And these are organizations that are claiming these religious enlightenments. And really, what they're doing is saying that they know the scriptures, and everything that they're doing it with the knowledge of the scriptures. They know the prophecy. So the actions that they take are taken in rebellion against the Lord's plan for his people. And so the latest thing that has happened, I think, and many people may not know it, as a part of this republic, we're going to begin to see transform as these positions and the announcements of the people that are being placed in the gatekeeper roles is the activation of the military draft. We know that the republic is really strong on military and war, and so they're going to continue to support especially the war in Gaza. They are 100% behind that one. Now, some of the other ones they're not going to be as strong for, but part of what they have to do is support this whole idea, because if the republic actually does anything different, then their entire establishment is destroyed, because they have stood on these principles that are not, we know that they're facts and evidence that these principles are standing behind just any religious group that claims enlightenment is a very weak and simple-minded place to establish and implement government policy. But we know that that's what they're choosing to do. So we got business run. We got a republic. It's going to be business run. We've seen the massive destruction of any kind of representation of a constitution of the people. That's pretty much been settled, and it's going to continue to deteriorate after the first of the year if this plan goes forward. So that's kind of basically what I covered before you ladies got in. And so just why don't we go ahead and just kick off some of some of your thoughts about, where you think people, what most do you think people ought to be thinking about in moving forward after the election?
Hi, this is Marilyn, and thank you so much for Ms. Gloria for putting this together, because it does good for us to come together and hear how things apply to God's word, and then also just looking at it from a realistic perspective or human perspective. And so to respond to your question, first and foremost is I think that first is just keeping my eyes on God, keeping my eyes on Him,
Yes.
being able to hear His word, hear His speaking to me, because He said He's my friend. He will tell us. He will let us know. And then by the same token, also He's told us to be as sharp as a serpent, but as gentle as a dove. And my sharpness is to stock up on some food. even though I know it can be taken by the strike of a match,
Yep.
that, just being smart, trying to be smart by stacking up on food and just being prepared, because I just think that these next 4 years are going to be really tough. And with what he's trying to put together with the tariff and, uh, people can really, if everything goes into place the way he said he was going to do it, then people can tell us that, hey, we choose not to sell to you. So
That's
I
true.
am, so I'm just trying to look at it that way, keep every God is first, and then just, try to prepare, set myself up and my family, and if they need me, to where we're properly prepared.
Amen. And you're exactly right, because as people who are not ready, the resources, uh, you know, kind of trump down and start squeezing people. They're going to, that is the reaction that those who have prepared. I think one of the key things that you said is making sure that you're prepared. And I heard one report I was listening to. I don't know if I know, Marilyn, you've heard Truth Unedited, but and there are several others that are out there that are kind of doing like we're doing, and that's making themselves aware of the prophecy and how to prepare based on the knowledge of the prophecy and what's happening in the earth. And the whole idea of making sure that those resources are there, that you have enough to keep you from having to be out in the chaos for a while if things shut down and we don't have those resources, we don't have our utilities and all of those things, and getting prepared for those things means being wise, like you said, being very prudent about what it is that, and realistic, I think, too, very realistic, because it's better to be prepared, in other words, to have and not need, than it is to need and not have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hi there.
Hello, how are you all?
Good, good. How you doing?
I'm well, glory to God, and thank you. Excuse me for my tardiness, and I may not be able to stay the entire time, but I just want to give God all the glory and honor for what you're doing, Mother, as I've been preparing for court. And I just want to give them Yahweh Vav in the name of Yeshua just a praise. People talk about preparing. The preparation comes with knowing the word. You need to know the word.
Yep.
We can stop for anything you want to, but you can't carry it. Nobody was ever successful in the scriptures staying still.
There we go.
Everybody was getting up and moving.
Yep.
And then applying the diet that was listed, get your mind ready to get hungry. Because then and we weren't given a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind.
Yep.
Voting is new for us of African ancestry. It don't matter who they put in there. It don't matter. We weren't given that spirit of fear. What matters is that you know that word, and then you have it in your heart, your mind, and you believe it by faith.
Mm-hmm.
And you speak it. And then if people are being confused, I don't know what about. Yeshua was born in Bethlehem in Judea, not Israel. Clearly, in the book of Galatians, Apostle Paul said that what is now Jerusalem now belongs to Hagar's seed. We have a earthly Jerusalem that is not over there. And I'm praying that people read these little fine prints, because we can't live off bread alone or just meat, but all the word that proceeded out of the mouth of the Lord.
Yes.
And the more and more I listen to people, and I listen, I tend not to listen to people. I tend to just really read a lot of scriptures and been going over linguistics and ancient histories while going over linguistics and over scriptures, because language changed. We're of African ancestry speaking English in America. Yeshua was Hebrew speaking Aramaic under Roman rule in Judea. The language is amazing. And I've just been praying that people really read his scriptures, because we're missing a whole lot because we didn't read all of it. And there's pieces of it that I'm learning that religious organizations and denominations and Christendom have really omitted. And then in this, as we're approaching holidays that are pagan, and then we pick and choose what we want to follow. And I don't know, then the outcome is the same, is not, you can't go to the throne with unauthorized fire.
That's true.
And people didn't read the word. Yeah. Out here in Massachusetts, it's been on fire. There's a drought, and they can't even cut down Christmas trees because of the situation. You may want to sit there and read the fine print to all of them scriptures, while they've been adjusting the calendar with their Calendar Act of 1750, and they think they've been born twice, and then they emancipated their slaves after they died, thinking that they're Christ. But we don't know the language. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And in verse 13 of John 1:1, then the Word became flesh. But people didn't know the Word. You'll ask a typical Christian, ask them how many of each animal was Noah supposed to take on the ark, and they're going to give you that Hollywood answer of 2, because they didn't read all of it. and our people perish. They die from the lack of knowledge. As someone who is in federal court and I have to like watch everything I say and don't put my name all the way down until later on. This is wild. They study us more than we study ourselves to make sure we didn't figure it out. And so you may want to go to the library because we're freer than we ever been. To use that freedom wisely, not to indulge in the flesh, because everybody's chasing a bag, food, and there's a famine, not for food, but for the truth.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And so I'm praying that people read. Thank you, Mother.
Yes, I want you to, and I don't know if you can do this. Are you able to give an overview of the current of what happened, to just lay out in the simplest way that you can the situation of federal court, what was done to you by the system, so that people can get a perspective around
this case.
Yes.
So I could just say, because I'm in court and we go on a trial, is that all the information is public. You can Google my name, DonQuenick. And my civil rights were violated as a registered nurse after informing corporate about discrimination. My civil rights were violated. I was terminated. And then those termination led to manslaughter charges, like however they put this on paper. And the only reason things seem real is because people put it on paper, but doesn't mean it's true. There's a difference between real and truth. Like this hair is real. Truth is I didn't grow it. Christmas is a real holiday. Truth is it's not his birthday and it's pagan. People pick and choose what they want to do. But a little yeast leavens a whole dough. And now we have been, as people of the promise out here that have been under Gentile rule, don't know who we are, but they do. We were circumcised before they were. And they've been doing all kinds of research. That's why they were always in their Bible, trying to make sure we don't know. And they keep you busy. After they do a census, you get sick, election, and there's wars. They've been doing that since the split of Rome. That's a European issue. We're not here to protect the Pope from the East Orthodox Church. That's their schism. But I've been going through this journey as somebody who's been in court. And when I was in court the first time, the charges against me were dismissed in the interest of justice, for the glory of Yahweh, in the name of Yeshua. And he provided me a public defender named Noah Sweet. And no one showed up to court, not once, not twice, but 3 times in the name of Yeshua. And the hospital was held in contempt. And these charges were dismissed for the record to their calendar, for the record, during the Shemitah, the Feast of Tabernacles. And no matter how they try to move their calendar around, so the devil is crafty. He ain't wise. We are as sharp as a serpent, innocent as doves. And so that's where that came from. And so now someone in court, Holy Spirit in the name of Yeshua, while I was writing stuff down, showed me himself in this process. And I'm praying that for everybody else, as I've been going through the scriptures, as you know, Mother, 16 times, cover to cover, last 5 years. And in the manifestation of his word, Yeshua lives. And so he said, so does Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So then we are the descendants. So who are we? So that's where that came from. And so, and hopefully in a few months, I'll be able to just openly share at all. But you can just Google my name and you'll find web pages and stuff that'll share. But I'm just protecting the process and the cargo in which he has me in doing. So thank you, Mother.
All right. Okay. Well, I think that's important because a lot of times it's where we're at sometimes that we, if we get an opportunity, which is why these opportunities that we have to be able to come together, like you were saying, are so important. Because one of the things that I learned in some of my times in the courts is that there's a famine when you're going through these processes, that you don't have many people. Most people will scatter and they will leave you because they're not chosen and have not been called to be the one that's going to be set apart to stand in that place, for where the Lord calls us. And so to be, wrongfully accused, and then they had the nerve to bring forth the charge of the most grievous charge that one might find. And we look at you today and we may hear some of the frustration, but it's good that people understand where that the depth of that is coming from, is being in a process. And so much of what we do is about process. So I thank you for being able to share just enough to give that perspective. And We need to talk about, I think there are a couple of places, and we'll get that together, that people who want to support you um, need to know where your that support mechanism is, whether it's your Facebook, whether it's your Instagram. That support is really important. When you're standing up like that, you're like the David and the Goliath with the Lord's uh, pushing you through the process, bringing you through the process, and making sure that you come out as pure as gold on the other side. And so we want to come back and make sure that we touch base on that as well. But I think that's exactly what is where we're at now, and I think that that's what I believe is that moving forward after this election, if people don't decide that the gatekeepers that they have put their trust in are not somehow off in a way that says, when you ask them if they know who they are, many are offended because they don't understand the significance of identifying. If the Lord set the order for us in the beginning, and Christ didn't come at all to forsake the order, he didn't come to take any of what happened under God's direct direction with his people away. All of it stands. And so the laws, the statutes, and the commands that people have gotten away from are really in rebellion, but they're so covered and doused in the deception that they're not seeking God about rising up out of that. And what I love about the Lord is that the, the, the philosophy is just like Christ said, if you're seeking to know something, it is best to seek the kingdom first. And then if you seek the kingdom and ask questions, you're going to get your answers. You might not like the answers. You may not want to process the truth in living the answers. But it's never been said that prayers haven't been answered. It's never been said that those who seek God for knowledge, those who seek God for wisdom, have never found it. And I think many people we all have come from somewhere. We didn't start to where we are today. And so we've all got a testimony of how we've arrived at the place to where we have the wisdom to know that God is in charge, that just like he has always told his prophets, what years are going to be the years of famine, what years are going to be the years of plenty, and instructed them specifically on how to store up. And so the preparation is always a part of acting out the faith. And that preparation for each of us may be something different. But the important thing is that we act upon what we know to do, because that is what we will be held accountable to on the day that we must face our Savior. And he's made the decision that we have earned the right to be amongst his remnant. So that the preparation comes from the knowledge, but the faith, I don't care what it is you're in, you must act upon that knowledge, that faith that God is endowing into us. And so I think that's what we want to do. I'm going to move on to the next thing I wanted us to be able to touch on, because I don't want to keep you too long here. And I want to make sure I ran into a problem, because the last time I did this, the program was so long I couldn't even get my program loaded up, and I don't want to run into that again. The next thing, and this deals with that whole idea of preparation, not just preparation because we have fear, but preparation because God also asks us to do things in order to prepare ourselves for the events that we know are coming. That's wisdom. And so we want to look at this. It was that wisdom that caused me to want to look at Project 2025 for the knowledge of the coming moves, because the interesting thing in that is that we will be affected by that. But what we know, it's always better to know your enemy than to not. And we know that it doesn't mean that we fear our enemy. It just means that we're wise enough to know how to position, because God has given us the understanding in his prophecy. And there are things that he, like you were saying, he'll tell us to go. He will also tell us to stay and sit still. Sometimes he'll say stand. So in all of these things, it's a part of the communication that we have as kingdom people in the earth. As Christ would tell him, when he healed the man and he told the man, don't go and say a word, just go in on one occasion. Then the other occasion, he told the man, go and tell the priest, right? because he was strategically making sure when he said that the things that needed to happen based on the wisdom and the knowledge that he was properly positioning the himself in the environment so that those things would be done. And then God takes care of making sure that he stands on his word, make sure that his word doesn't come back void. He makes sure that he confirms his word in those that are consistent in following it. So that's a part, I think, of the growth that we all have to go through as well. But there are some things I want to bring up right now, and that is just for the sake of understanding some of the ideas that are coming forth and why I think, and I want to hear your thoughts on this. Do you think that democracy has basically been defeated, and that we are in fact in a republic mode now, a new mode? I'm giving it names, but I think spiritually it's really war. I don't care how we look at it, but um, tell me what you think about the idea of the republic versus the democracy, and what does it look like to you? The democracy now has in fact been destroyed.
I would say yes. And I say it from the perspective that you look at who's there. He's been able to get away with so much, even to the point of getting immunity, which however you pronounce it. I can murder the Queen.
That's right.
So feel free to correct me. But he's been able to get away with all that he's gotten away with, get placed back in office, and with the Project 2025, his agenda. I mean, it's just going to take us so far back. I mean, because we're getting rid of affirmative actions, we're getting rid of DEI, we're getting rid of all of those things that we had that before Jim Crow. So it's basically taking us back into that Jim Crow era and farther back. So it's going to take a whole lot more to get back to what we call quote unquote democracy. But when I look at it, I can't say, and this is just me, my conversation with God and looking at prophecy, God said that I do believe we're living in the last days, but however, he said it was going to come a point in time when they was going to say, peace, peace, all is peace. Mm-hmm. And then when great calamity will come. So I think that this is a phase that we're going through, and it may come to a point to where it looked like, okay, we're back, to that level of democracy. And that's when the bottom is going to fall out. But at the end of the day, prophecy is not going to be feel like, oh, he said this is going to happen. Check mark, that happened. He said this is going to happen. Oh, check mark, that happened.
Mm-hmm.
It's, one of the acronyms that we use is FAST. It's going to come more frequently and all at the same time. So it's all just be hitting. So I think that we're on that slippery slope to the last day. This is it. We're there, and democracy, we'll never see it as we've seen it.
Yes, I agree 100%. It's, that, it's funny. People were talking, what you were just saying. I was watching the Brother on Truth Unedited yesterday because I like his short summarizing, because I can get through it, gain a lot, and it's scripturally based, and it is prophecy. And so I don't say that I agree with everything, but I say that I pull from it what I can grow into, and then if it's something that is new, then I pray about it and say, Lord, you make it plain. But I think that's a great way to analyze it, is that the time, one of the things that many people don't hear much about is the Shemitah, and Dominic mentioned that, and the significance of the Shemitah, the significance of what happens during those Feast of Tabernacle seasons. I learned many years ago, the Lord showed me when he was downloading who I was to me in my spiritual lineage, because I don't know about anybody else, but I look at so many today and I don't know that they've never asked the question. I just don't know if they've ever gotten to a place to where they're ready for the answer, because it's not something that you can ask God. There's nothing you can ask him. And if you're not ready for the answer, it doesn't matter. You won't move on it anyway. But some of the questions I think that people are asking themselves now, I've watched a few of those who were so thrown into the same process that we went through with Barack Obama, and they still didn't find their way, but many did since then. And like you said, these things that are happening and how quick they are happening is one of the things that the Lord showed me about the Shemitah when he showed me what that 7-year cycle was exactly, and why it was going to be important that he would the time would have to change. In other words, things are going to happen very quickly. And that was one of the signs that we are to look for, is how quickly. And Don Quinique, you alluded to that when you said that there is instance upon instance of chaos. By the time you look up one day, there's one bit of chaos going on. And so all of that to me says that the time now that the Lord had warned us about is actually we're functioning in that. And the reason why I think that what I got out of that prophecy when he downloaded to me the Shemitah was to just know that these things are coming. And when you see them, then you need to just know that that is me. This is what I've already said is going to happen. Don't fear, don't panic. Just do what you're told to do and make sure that you can hear me when I say, prepare, you prepare. And the word prepare, my mom, before she passed away, those were her words to me. And she came back to me, I think it was 2013 after I got divorced, but she came in the spirit of this man who came to me. I was at work and he walked up to my desk and he says, your mother passed away. He said, and what she wants you to remember is to make sure to prepare. And it blew my mind because the man was absolutely drunk. His friends were getting him home, but he was drunken enough to do the task. And that was to approach me and let me know that my mom was saying that word to me again. And so I see today why that it is important, for me to just I watch the weather. The weather is another big signal. But anyway, Duncan, I want you to chime in on that one, and then we'll move along on this.
What was the question? It was about the original question.
Oh, it was whether or not you think democracy in the earthly terms, democracy and this republic, basically what has happened in the election.
Okay, yeah, that's what it is. Right. So the word democracy and republic, the fact that we say we live in a democratic republic is really, those two words don't even go together. So a nation divided can't stand. So it's just wordplay. Yeah, Donald Trump looks like George Washington. I mean, the same difference. He just, it's the same God, different time zone. I don't know why people are so shocked. It hasn't been since 1964, since we had some changes in civil rights. And before then, it was like Civil War. And then there was only 85 years between the Revolutionary War and the Civil War. And it's going to move faster because we got the internet. So like the thing is, it's instantaneous. And they changed, look, dollar ain't back on gold. You got interesting people going to be running the budget. Like, I guess my perspective is interesting because I'm in court and I've been like sauced down by law firms and a bunch of stuff. And not to mention the interesting experiences the Most High in the name of Yeshua has allowed me to have as a young adult, a young woman, of age, but not all the way mature as my elders. But I'm not a baby either. And so like, I wonder what were we expecting if we know that we're looking for a kingdom that is not of this here. And I mean, I am enjoying the whole rise up. I mean, it's easier to take down a group of bowling pins when you have them all up at the same time. So I mean, have fun, like we're good over here. I love it. Are we living in the end times? Like, yeah, that 400 years is up. That 7 and 7 is up. Everybody got cancer. It's weird. And they need to put all those stolen stones from, take them back from that crown. But what do we know? We're women. We're of African ancestry, post-exile of 400 years. We're in exile. It's language. It's so much language. And it's best wishes with a draft with the pronouns. It's ridiculous. And so as someone who has a really wide range of experiences professionally and spiritually, and not because of my own, because he allowed me to experience all this stuff in order to see because I wasn't like this before. We live in a democratic republic.
Yeah. Okay. What is that?
I mean, it's good but evil. It's either all of the promises in the name of Yeshua. It's not yes and no. It's not democratic republic. It is the yes and amen. And so since people are so focused on this choice of two, or whatever independent stuff, and then they change laws, and then it's always about the money and black jobs because we ain't property no more. From the Stamp Act to the Sugar Act, which brought about the Revolutionary War in their land of milk and honey, sugar. And he said that we would be doing honey, we would be trading for our wares, Judah and Israel. And we weren't the Christians on the boat. So I don't care. I don't care. This is not, we called out of this. Like, I don't care about their government. Like, I'm like, I care for the people, but I don't care about the language. This is from their Constitution to their Magna Carta back on a lie. Yeah. And so, this is where a couple weeks ago, when we had this conversation about the generations prior to my generation, it was they in the scripture said, let those who had a dream recount the dream, but let the ones who have the word of God speak it. And they got us living in a dream, sleep like I had a dream, many deifying, giving people statues and stuff and distractions. And Juneteenth, when truth be told, you about to use our people for your draft or people in prison. And so then we're a Democratic Republic for what? When our people realize who we are, because if we all got together, they're afraid we're gonna leave or go against them. Because without us, they wouldn't have an established Democratic Republic.
Yeah.
That was only set up to figure out what to do with agriculture and a property. We're not property. That 400 years is up for the record according to Acts. The dollar ain't back on gold. You can buy platinum and gold with your paper monopoly money at Costco. And they got Bitcoins now. It's make believe. So then, what is it make believe? What the things that we have faith, which is, things hoped for, evidence of things not yet seen. We walk by faith and not by sight. And so then if we focus on the kingdom, that government, that established government there, they're going to be like, what are they doing? Because now we just said we didn't need you. You go ahead and fight for positions. They're venture capitalists. They still playing, chess with the economy using people of color and poor folk. And until we figure that out, it's a democratic republic, all right? It's exactly what it's always been, a lie.
Yeah, and that's basically, my heart goes out. I've got a nephew that is incarcerated, and I had a chance to talk to him. But you said something that stood out to me, and that was this idea that one of the things that they've done, I think it was just June this year, they've of course reinstituted that draft, and he was telling me that he was supposed to be up for parole, and for whatever reason. Everything went silent. And, and when you said that, I've kind of, tried to just let everybody that I know, and that's really, what the opportunity that I believe we've been given, and it's not for everybody, but I think that to have the opportunity to have the podcast where we can share with as many as, the God will send to hear and to watch the video, the knowledge that we have is, it's doing what we can do in order to help people awaken, because time is moving at such a pace, and because so many of them are just so distraught. And I tell you, I just think that it's important to come together and to share, and not only one thought, but the round of thoughts. I love how prophecy. The Bible has always said that it said that we prophesy in part, and the reason that we have bits and pieces in our experiences that we if we understand the value of coming together is that we begin to allow then God to paint his whole picture for people who are in the dark and have no clue about where they're at, and they're fearful, and it's just all kinds of emotions that people are falling into. But it does say that it is prophecy that all of this would be before us. And I just love the Lord, because the word has, as much as they have tried to keep it from us, as Don Quinique was saying, the whole idea is that Satan needs willing soldiers. He needs people who are just going to refuse to seek God. And I hope that people will, gain some knowledge from the dialogue that we have as individuals. And so with that, I think that was the one question. And then the other one was the last one, and we'll finish up with this one. And that was, I want to gather your thoughts on the video about what was going on. How did this process play out? The lie that was presented to the people, and it's not so much the lie; it's just that the people are so in disarray that they were shocked. But anybody knows that if there was a dead cat on the line, the moment everybody went silent, because you had everybody on both sides just went silent. Okay, he got it. Let's just go ahead in the media. Everybody's just like, okay, well, let's just go ahead and focus on everything but what happened, right? And that was because they were so devious in the way that they put this plot together. And I was so thankful that the gentleman who put together that movie, Vigilante Inc., to bring us back to a place that said all these people have to do is go and get a list that was probably downloaded and printed and just hand it to them. And then they went down to the county clerk's office in their states. And I guess they just said, we want to challenge. And then when he went back to start talking to these people, the challenge of these provisional votes, and we're not talking about one or two, we're not talking about 1,000, 2,000, we're talking about millions of votes.
Yeah, they're talking about 20 million now that has disappeared. They're looking for 20 million votes that didn't appear. But go ahead. I'm sorry. Your question was, did you finish your question? I'm sorry.
Yeah. So in order to finish the question, yeah, I just wanted to get your thoughts on the Vigilante Inc. movie. And,
Mm-hmm.
because I knew the moment they called it, it's like it stuck all over everywhere. I said they done rigged that. There was no way that things were going to go down like that. But
Absolutely.
and then my thing is okay, Lord. So where's the dead cat on the line? And sure enough,
Mm-hmm.
like I said, if we ask God, He gonna reveal whatever we need to know. He has
Mm-hmm.
convinced me and shown me that. And no sooner than I asked Him that, then I was doing my little YouTube review, and here we go.
Mm-hmm.
Oh well, guess
Mm-hmm.
what? This 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 journalist who has been watching this stuff for years has put together this movie, but he can't get a voice nowhere on the government run media.
Right. Right.
So the question was, what do you think about the movie?
I love the movie and have sent it to several other people to look at. Thank you for that. Okay. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
And you know what? And I was looking at it and I'm like, wow, wow. But then again, too, you have to bring it. I mean, I can't speak. I have to bring it back into perspective, into God's word. And so looking at everything, if you think about it, it's nothing new under the sun, as he said, nothing new. And they move in just like they call it regentification with the communities and neighborhoods and things. So they do the same thing with us. They redo it all over again, because, and I was just explaining to my daughter, my sister-in-law and my niece today, because they was asking me questions about, why are, white people seem to be so evil, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, just to stop from having to get into this whole drawn out story of it, I just said, look, there's nothing new under the sun. History constantly repeats itself.
Yes.
Every time and through each era, whether it was the Babylonian, the Greeks, the Romans, or Syrians, whomever it was, each throne, when they felt that they was threatened by the children of Israel, when they felt that they was going to be overcome by the children of Israel, what did they do?
Same thing.
Put them back into captivity. They put them back into captivity is what they did.
Yep.
I said, so nothing is new under the sun. We're probably getting ready to go back again. But, God got a plan for us, and then like, but why? I mean, but why it has to be, why it got to be the white people? What? I said, well, making a long story short again, just saying that um, in the beginning, all of us were Gentile. The whole nation was Gentile until God chose Abram, because the children of Israel did not exist until he chose Abram. So he pulled Abram out of a Gentile world.
Okay.
And so when that's when the children of Israel, so God basically had to prove, because Old Testament is God with us. New Testament is God in us. Okay. And so anyway, God had to let us see for ourselves that we cannot do it without him in us. So him having the children of Israel to pull them out and say, hey, I'm using you to show the rest of the world that it can't be done without me. And so so coming through the tribe of Abraham, his tribes, Yeshua was born, or Yahshua was born through that tribe, through David. And then he came, died, resurrected, da 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 da. So now it's those who are with him now. But you still got the rest of those Gentiles out there that's worshiping all of those idol gods. And then I had to kind of touch bases with Noah, of Ham, Shem, and Japheth, and who Japheth is, and where he went to, and why he wanna actually have the rights and all this stuff. So I had to get a little bit into that. But basically, just telling them that, hey, there's nothing new under the sun. It's been going on since the beginning of time. But eventually, it's all ends up being a part of God's plan, to where, He would bring us to salvation, to where we will be able to reign with Him. So when I looked at it, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. No, I just said when I looked at it, it was like, wow. It was just amazing how crafty as she was saying, how crafty he is. He's not smart, but he's crafty. Okay. He's not wise, she said, I think, but he's crafty,
There you go. That is so true. That's it. My thoughts exactly as I watched it. I was just so thankful. I said, "Thank you, Lord." I said, because
Mm.
anybody in their right mind had
Okay.
that situation was not what it was being presented at all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I'm thankful that was really one of the main points I wanted to make sure that I got your opinions on tonight. Don Quinique did have to go, so in her absence, she was just saying she had to be off by 7, and so um,
Okay.
that's basically what I wanted to make sure that we touched on was just where the thought of moving forward and what we might be able to impart to others on that, and then this whole idea of here's what happened, people, and here are the facts of it. You need to
Mm-hmm.
understand that that was not what you would consider a legitimate win, and
Mm-hmm.
and I've always said that we're dealing with a two-headed monster, and what we have now is what's always been. It's just that, like you said, that craftiness and that deception has been so well orchestrated because you have the entire system uh,
Mm-hmm.
playing to the same drum, and so they've always presented this separate front. But I
Mm-hmm.
think it's always been, just they've always been on the same agenda because the silence now that we see, I think so many people were so broken that they must have complained because there's some what is going to look like activity to respond and rebut from
Mm-hmm.
the campaign of Kamala's campaign. But
Mm-hmm.
we know that that this it's not going to be something that is going to be effective, because if it was going to be effective, they would have to literally not have known anything.
Mm-hmm.
You can't broadcast all of this what you call truth and then turn around and not look into the matter. So I can respect um, the gentleman who took Bush Jr. to court at least. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
this one was just absolutely, it was so pathetic. I was just like, I know they can't believe this.
I know, right? All right. Let
But
me share something with you. Let me share, if I could, let me share something with you. I went to Kenya for 3 weeks, right?
yeah.
And so I was conversing with one of the ladies over there, and she came back and told me, because I said, before it's all over with in our conversation, I just said, before it's all over with, I may be trying to get to Kenya, right? And so she sit back and said, I'm Team Trump. She says, he is not perfect. They are both two sides of the same coin, but his agenda seems to align most with Yahweh's word.
Ooh.
No, I'm like, wow. I know, me too. I was like, wow, you call yourself knowing the truth, but anyway, it's like no abortion, transparency, accountability, Yahushua, Hamashach, the bringer of salvation, peace, gender equals male and female from genitalia assignment at birth. And I said, girl, what did I tell her? Hold on here. I said, girl, I said, if you believe all that crap, I guess you have to show. I guess he'll have to show you how big of a nut he is.
Mm.
Transparency. How do you get that through lies and deceit? And basically, I just told her it's all about preserving the Caucasian race.
Mm-hmm.
I said, rate. I went into about the abortion rate and why it's so high among blacks and Latinos
Mm-hmm.
because the health facility is not there. Um, so, and if they're not giving us the health we need, the babies are dying. They're killing the babies. What's the threat? Why are we a threat to them? Pretty much is what I'm saying to her.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's such an interesting dynamic. There are those that I know that if I were to engage them, they would be of the same mind. And I think for me, what I really want and we're going to do this one. I think I'm going to push it back to our
Mm-hmm.
next opportunity because I really think that what people need to uh, understand is they need to look at Project 2025 and understand the knowledge because they can't recreate. They don't have the intellectual capacity to come up with another plan. They spent too much money and time putting into
Mm-hmm.
that one. So it's going to be implemented because it's all they have. And
Right.
and so internationally, what I think if I were in on the continent of Africa, one of the questions I would be asking is, where is what is the what relationship do you have with China right now? Because you've
Girl,
allowed them into your country and they are a communistic nation.
thank
And
you.
when they so when you allow Satan in like that, and you don't think that that's going to affect the faith
Mm-hmm.
that you have with God, then you have to think again because He's not coming in to be your friend. That's just like saying, "Open up the door, come on in."
Mm-hmm.
We're supposed
Mm-hmm.
to be a nation that believes in God, and we know that you don't. uh,
Mm-hmm.
which is exactly what Babylon, the daughter of Babylon, did, right? She built that nation up rather than
Right.
all of the other nations that were representative of the beliefs of God. They wouldn't do business with them. They wouldn't establish them like they did the economics that they did with
Girl,
China.
look, let me show you here. I told her the same thing. I said, why do you think the states do not support black nations the way they support Caucasian nations? Okay? They have to keep them down. They have to keep them suppressed in fear of a takeover. And I gave her an example. I said, Shaka Zulu. He had this, if he had the same ammunition that the British had, he would have blown the British off the face of the earth. You know?
Yep. And there's
Oh,
one guy that's over there now. I think it's Senegal. Oh, they're
oh,
running scared right now because this man and many of the African countries are standing up and speaking against this. But what they're doing is they're going into the hands of the enemy of the Lord. But
mm,
because the United States now they know Babylon has fallen, and
mm,
so they're not going to continue to try and build any relationship with
okay.
the United
Okay.
States, with the daughter of Babylon, because everybody around the world knows, and that's prophecy that every nation who has drank of the poison and the wine of the daughter of Babylon would be weeping
Mm-hmm.
in Babylon.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I think we're seeing that very clearly when we look at
Right.
the international situation that's going on right now. And so Don Quinique mentioned agriculture. Agriculture is in serious trouble, and because China has already, I was looking at a report yesterday, China has already, uh, I think agriculture, the income from agriculture, which is why we were shipping all of that over to China. China has gone to Venezuela, so they're building them up now.
And
Uh,
they also they got their hands so hand deep in um Kenya and Tanzania too.
Oh, because I
They're
remember when they went over there and they built their own little place, and they said they put walls around it. The people can't even
Mhm.
see up in there.
Yeah, they I mean they buying up that land so quick over there. I was like, man, y'all are crazy. I mean, when I'm saying that, didn't tell them that because they didn't have no control over that.
Right,
But
right.
yeah,
And
but China is very thick and deep in Kenya and
yes,
Tanzania. Hmm.
wow. And that's that's going to play itself out as well. There are a few things I would say to them. They better be looking at what's happening on the international scale because this whole idea of prophecy and of this, not of prophecy, but the one world order against prophecy in order to try
Hmm.
and establish this position to fight against Christ and the remnant, is
Hmm.
where they're headed with this thing.
Right.
And that's the war you were talking about. Um,
Right.
and so it's all very. I just I'm glad that we've had a chance, and I'm gonna have to get ready to cut it now because I don't want to not be able to upload. But I want to just say that there's a lot to be discussed about it, and so I want to come back and revisit kind of walking through with not with a fine-tooth comb, but just looking at an overview of the plan
Mm-hmm.
that they're planning to implement and how that's going to, and we can pick out the areas that will help us to properly seek the wisdom of God about proper preparation.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
that's kind of where we'll go next, and kind of I want to dig into at least that much of it, because I think once the we understand what happened in the election, that should drop the weight off of people if they're really willing to see it. Uh,
Right.
Absolutely, and so when they lose that weight, then they need to know exactly, what it is that what it is that is the bigger thing is to have enough time, and we got time now. We just have to accept the knowledge of coming out of this plan and how to prepare.
Absolutely.
Seek God
Yep.
about that. Prepare. He'll lead us in how to prepare, but our faith has got to. The only way we can implement faith wisely is that we understand that if He's opening up the door to allow us to see, then we need to seek Him about, okay, what we need to be prepared for. Okay, be prepared. Just he did the prophets all the time, Bob, like that. So I don't see any difference for us. So
Absolutely.
I want to
Absolutely.
thank you again, Marilyn, for coming on. I appreciate so much being able to share and get your opinions on some of these things, because it is important. And I think it's really the trend that we ought to be doing is really bringing prophecy to every
Mm-hmm.
conversation, because
Absolutely.
there are no answers in the earth for the kind of stuff that we're seeing. They can tell us everything they want, but they don't have any real answers.
No, they don't. Mm-mm.
And in order for us as righteous people to exist in peace, we must not be running around here like chickens with their head cut off and fearful of this,
Mm-hmm.
unsure about that. No, that ain't what God said. He said, I want you ignorant.
Right.
But if
Right.
you want to know, I'm going to make sure that you get the knowledge you seek me for.
Mm-hmm.
So I thank God for you tonight, my sister. And I want to
Okay.
say to those that are with us tonight, we want to thank you um, for joining the Generations podcast topic for tonight. How do we move forward? What's the best thing to do now that the election has happened? And um, we want to invite you to go and check out, Vigilante Inc. Get your understanding and drop all of that burden of not knowing what happened. So thank you so much, my dear. And I'm going to go ahead and we'll close out and chat once we're done.